Steve Dotto here. How the heck are you this fine day? Me? I'm glad you asked, because I am fit as a fiddle and ready to roll. The reason I am fit as a fiddle is I have, for the past 10 days or so, been wearing a Fitbit, which a good friend gifted to me. They sent me a Fitbit, which is a wearable piece of technology that monitors my activity all day long, 24 hours a day. So while I'm active and while I'm sleeping, it's monitoring what I'm doing, measuring it, and then giving me a report on what I've done activity-wise at the end of the day. These activity monitors are all the rage. Fitbit is certainly one of the larger brands, but Apple's involved with it with their soon-to-be released watch. We see Jawbone. We see a lot of different people, Garmin. Lots of different people are creating pieces of wearable technology that report back to us our activities and allow us to monitor everything from the steps we take to the calories we intake to how much water we drink. So we're going to have a look at the Fitbit activity monitor, or activity monitors in general, today on Dotto Tech. Now, I'm going to begin with a disclaimer for this particular video. I am not a fitness expert, although I play one in this particular video. The Fitbit is really designed for an active lifestyle to help us basically quantify exactly what we do in a day. I think people use it for a variety of different things. They use it as motivation to make sure that they reach their goals. Some people use it for measurements to find out what they can do to maybe lose a little bit of weight or get a little bit more healthy, because you can track how much you eat as well as how many calories you're spending, because it's measuring everything that you're doing. So trying to create an equation that's going to make sense for them to lose weight. People use it for those sorts of things as well. So now there's a variety of different models of these sorts of products available. Of course, there's a variety of brands, and the watches, the wearable watch, which is probably the most popular type of this technology, comes in a variety of different ways. But they all have a couple of common components. They measure what you're doing, where you are, and how active you are is number one. Number two is they interface with your computer, or more often with your smartphone. There's a really nice integration between smartphone to give you back reports. And they have software included, which is you're going to be able to use for measurements and other sorts of things. So we're going to take a look at that coming up. Now, just a quick snapshot of the different types of products there are. Just even in the Fitbit line, they've got a couple of clip-on activity monitors, as well as several wrist-worn ones. The wrist-worn ones go everything from the Flex, which actually I got for my partner for Christmas, so I'll be able to compare that, in the Charge, which is the one that I want, which has a little LED screen that will give me a little bit more feedback, including be a watch that actually tells me the time. And they also have heart rate monitors, and they go on and on. We can actually sync it to my smartphone as well, and it can also monitor what's happening and let me know, give me caller ID and that sort of stuff. But more on that in a moment. For me, before I go on, they also often live in ecosystems. You can see the Fitbit, and most of them have different scales that will attach, because they communicate through Bluetooth technology with our different devices. Although with this Fitbit watch, you can also plug it in by USB to your computer, which is the way you charge it, but you can also exchange data at that point, should you choose. But for the most part, Bluetooth pairing is the way that it goes. So I'm just going to jump over, and I'm going to hop onto my smartphone here. There we go. I'm going to give you, there we go. Let's take a look at the app that's installed. Now, setting the Fitbit up it doesn't take all that long. It just takes a few minutes when you first get one of these devices. You have to do a Bluetooth pairing. Now, I've got mine set up for full-time sync, and I'll explain that in a few moments. But for the most part, most people are going to have it set up so that when they open the app, they will do a sync back and forth and exchange information back and forth between the device and your smartphone. But your smartphone becomes the screen that gives you all the feedback. The screens on the devices themselves, if they have a screen, the other model of the Fitbit that we've played with doesn't even have a screen. They're fairly limited as to the information that I get. I get the time, I can see how many steps I've taken, I can see how many flights of stairs I've climbed, and it will also flash up caller ID because of the way that I've set things up, but it's fairly limited, the information that I get from here. On the smartphone, once you've kind of companioned it up with the smartphone, you can get way more information, and it gets way more granular. And here's where it gets interesting. So this is my activity from Thursday, from last week. The reason I choose that day is I didn't quite make my goal of steps. They say you want to try and get 10,000 steps in, and I sometimes make it and I sometimes don't. It gives me a nice little buzz on my wrist when I do make it. But you can see here on the screen that I did not quite make my number of steps. But it tells you when you were walking through the day when you were active, how many steps, and then I can see exactly here. So here's today. How many steps have I taken today? I'm up to over 5,700. So I'm doing good today, and I can see my total count for last week. So you've got lots of different statistics. I think if you're a little bit on the OCD side of the scale, this is really nice because it's giving you targets and real feedback that you can go to. If you're the sort that tends to be disappointed if you miss your goals, it might inspire you to take those few extra steps to make sure you reach your goals each day. It also monitors distance that you've covered, calories that you've burned, which is really important when you start adding and taking a look at some of the other tools that they give us. How many floors you've climbed. Now I live in a flat neighborhood in a flat house, so I don't climb many floors. How many minutes you're active, and also if you've worked out or not. Now this one here is the workout. And I'll show you that in just a second. Gives you your weight. The one thing that's given me the most value, surprisingly, in this whole tool is this. It measures my sleep patterns. Now, I've been interested in my sleep patterns for quite some time. Doing reading, I recognize sleep is the one thing that most of us living in the modern world, it's the one thing that we kind of deny ourselves an awful lot of that can do us a lot of good. Of course, we don't notice it because we're asleep at the time. But measuring my sleep patterns, this has been fascinating. I've ranged anywhere from like 3.5 or 4 hours of good sleep a night to this night here. I got like nearly 7 hours of sleep. I can tell you I was feeling really rested after this sleep. But it makes me pay a little bit more attention to when I'm going to bed because I'm just able to look at it at the end and say, once I get over that 6-hour mark, I know that I'm feeling better through the day. I know that I don't feel like I need a nap in the middle of the day or have as big a crash in the afternoon. Plus, I know as well from reading that it's done a lot of other good. Your cells have more time to regenerate, all your energy and everything, your thought process is better. So paying attention to when you sleep is a big benefit. Now, that's one of the decision points that you're going to make if you're going to be purchasing one of these devices, is making sure that they have sleep monitoring attached, and if indeed you're willing to wear it 24 hours a day. This is a fairly comfortable wristband and stuff, and it doesn't bother me wearing it 24 hours a day, but some of you it might bother, so it might not work for you at all. But here's the difference between this one here, the Charge, and the one that my partner bought, because hers, she has to tap it to put it into sleep mode so it knows that you're sleeping. And because it doesn't have a screen, she's always confused. Is it in active mode or is it in sleep mode? So she's actually had a little bit of anxiety over that, which might have cost her some sleep. I don't know. But so I think it's probably worth stepping up a little bit extra money to get the model that will allow you to, that will automatically go into sleep. Now they also, if you're really getting into calorie counting and diet and that sort of stuff, they've got a really nice database, and you can actually measure all the food that you eat in any one day, and they will create an equation offsetting that against the number of calories that you've burned in that day. You can search for everything from fast food to food from other chain restaurants. You can even, I guess, look for your favorite chocolate bar. Let's have a look. There's a barcode scanner, so you can actually scan the barcodes of food, which gives the caloric count, and it will allow you to then, like, stuff that you buy from the store, and the database. I'm going to actually just cancel that. Sorry. And the database will actually even include things like fast food that you can purchase in restaurants and be able to count all those calories. So if you're the sort that can sit there and can put in everything that you eat, this becomes a really great tool for weight loss and weight management, because you're able to count all the calories as you go through, and it gives you a measurement. It also encourages you to drink lots of water, and so you can quickly add how much water you've drunk in a day, and then you can log it to make sure that you're getting the amount of water that you should be drinking in a day, should you choose to do that, and should that be interesting. And the other thing that I wanted to show you is it does a great job of following how far we walk in the steps. What it doesn't do is it doesn't allow for exercise. It doesn't automatically say, oh, Steve's in the gym right now and he's working out. And I've started just in the last little while. Did you notice I'm looking awfully good? No, probably not yet. But I've started going back to a twice a week workout, like a class with the 8 or 10 other people. And so I had to find, and what I did there was I found a boot camp that are different types of workouts that you can add. So you manually add that in how much time that you spent on that. And then they incorporate that in your total calorie expenditure for the day and how much energy you've expended. So at the end of the day, it's for me, I do check the kind of the feedback on a daily basis. I don't watch it all the time, but I do check it on a daily basis, and I do look to make sure that I'm getting the amount of steps and all that sort of stuff that I'm supposed to see on Wednesday. Lazy day. It was a terribly lazy day. I don't even want to talk to you about Sunday. It was Super Bowl Sunday, so it's just kind of sitting around. But today, I'm doing okay so far. The other thing is that I want to show you before we go on is if I tap on the charge, which this gets me into the management console for the Fitbit itself. You can use it as a silent alarm clock, and it will buzz on your wrist, which is a really nice way of waking up if you don't want to wake your partner up. If you've got to get up extra early to catch a flight or something, you can set alarms in there. You can have call notifications turned on. But in order to do any of this, you have to turn on this bottom switch called All Day Sync. So it's constantly talking back and forth by Bluetooth to the device and your smartphone. I don't know what this does to battery life of either device. I tend to think it's probably not too much because it's probably only really connecting when it's got something to say. But having said that, it is probably going to use a little bit more battery juice. But you can see here quickly that you can customize the type of display and the things that you see in your display. So those are what will show in the display itself. So I can turn on and off those things. You can customize the clock face to any of these sorts of faces. It's not too much customization, but it's a tiny little face. I mean, certainly if you have a watch like a Pebble watch, you could do an awful lot more of that kind of customization. You choose which wrist it's on, which is important to know that if it's measuring a dominant or non-dominant wrist because you use one arm more than the other. If your main goal, you can set whether your goals are steps, calories, distance burned, floors climbed. If you live in an apartment or you work in a building with stairs, and you really want to train yourself to use the stairs instead of the elevator, you can set your goals as being stairs climbed, floors climbed, and then it will buzz and give you the reward and measure based on that. So you've got that information as well. And finally, the tap gesture. If you just tap on it, on the watch itself, it's kind of funny. It's got a little switch on the side for you to be able to click and be able to work your way through the different controls. But if you tap on the face of it, now you have to tap pretty hard because come on, tap. There it is. You can say what you want to come up. I want the clock to come up, but you can show something else come up if you want as well. Bottom line is, this gives us access to kind of the inner workings of the Fitbit. At the end of the day, I like it. I've been wearing it now for just a couple of weeks. It's not super long, but it's something that I would recommend at this point here. Now, interestingly, having a partner who's been wearing the Flex, we think for her that we would have been better off either going with one of these two models here, either the Zip or the One. The One, a lot of women clip to their bra, and it kind of goes through the day because she doesn't necessarily like having this on her wrist, which she doesn't find particularly attractive, and it doesn't do anything except measure. So one of the other wearable ones might be better, or she would like to upgrade to something that could actually multifunction as a watch and as another device for her. So it might be worth stepping up from the Flex to the Charge. If you're in the Fitbit world and if you're looking at others, making sure that if you are going to be wearing something on your wrist that's visible, that it does something else, or it looks really good and you're happy with the way it looks because it's going to be there all the time. End of the day, I think it's great because you are more aware. At the end of the day, you won't be exercising more, but you will be more aware of taking the stairs, of parking a little bit farther away to walk, to get a few extra steps in, and that ultimately ends up doing a big benefit for you downstream. For me personally, the steps are one thing, but I've got the same number of steps I have to take every day no matter what because I got to walk the dog and all those sorts of things. Where I'm really finding benefit is in the sleep. Is in paying attention, going to bed maybe a half an hour earlier because I'm saying, I'm not getting enough sleep, and because I'm not just feeling tired, because you're not necessarily when it's time to go to bed. I don't really always feel like going to bed, but I pay the price the next day, not necessarily the next evening when it's bedtime again. So I might have already forgotten that I've paid the price that day. So the measurements in those numbers are helping me think and be more conscious of what's happening in my sleeping life, which I think ultimately is a good thing. That's it for today. I hope you found this video to be useful. There are 3 ways for you to stay in touch with us here on Dotto Tech. The first is please subscribe to this channel. Second is please subscribe to our newsletter. Then we can send you information about our webinars, which are on a variety of fascinating topics. And finally, Dotto Tech is a crowd-funded site. We're funded by the people who view our videos through Patreon. If you want to drop by Patreon, have a look. It's worth your time because there are some wonderful perks attached to being a patron of Dotto Tech, including free access to some of our best courses. So I encourage you to have a look. With that, I am done for today. I'm Steve Dotto. Till next time, have fun storming the castle.